Hi, I'm Terrell Turner, and you're watching the Business Talk Library. Today, we have another great guest coming back to talk about the amazing things going on in his world and what he's doing to really help businesses take things to the next level. And I'm excited to have him on the show, so stay tuned. So without further ado, let me bring on Donnie. Donnie, welcome back to the show, man. How are
Hey,
you?
I'm good, brother. Glad to be back. Thanks for bringing me in, man. We had such an awesome conversation last time. I'm excited to sit down with you again.
Absolutely. I mean, I know everyone that was watching and listened, they learned so much about, some of those core things about podcasts and just, how podcasting relates to building a business. Because I think, in 2020, I saw so many people creating podcasts and just like, hey, I'm just going to sit down and just throw this out there, but not realizing there's a ton of strategy that goes into it to being successful. So, how have things been? I mean, because we talked about your boot camps that you were doing last
Mhm.
time. How have things been going?
Man, it's crazy. We all know 20 was a crazy year, but we have been creating and adding. We're now up to 6 companies altogether, and we
Wow.
just continue to expand and grow. The team continues to grow. I think we're at 37 people on the team now, and we're just having a lot of fun finding unique ways to help people to grow and scale. And I think a lot of our success right now is attributed to us just kind of sharing the raw truth about business, how it's not easy to create a business. You're going to get your teeth kicked in on a regular basis. And I think we've successfully built a community of champions that just want to go better and go bigger so they can get to some sort of business freedom. So it's been a lot of growth, and a lot of punches in the face to make sure we grow right.
Mhm. That's one of those things I always think that, like, people aren't quite prepared for is when you start a business because, like, hey, the punches in the face are going to come. I
For
mean,
sure. For
to
sure.
where it's like, there's no amount of dodging that you can do to avoid 100% of the punches in the face.
Like, I somebody asked me on another interview, they were like, what makes a entrepreneur successful? And I said, well, it's really simple. They were too dumb to quit. Um, because everybody who's launched a business gets to a point where they second guess themselves. Can they do this? Are they built for this? Will it work? Is it going to break loose? And the ones who make it are the ones that get to that kind of edge, and instead of turning around and walking back home, just leap off into the abyss and saying, whatever happens happens, but we're going to keep running with it. And I think it's that ability to get knocked on your butt and turn around and get up and go that makes life just fun to get after and have a lot of fun with.
Yeah, I think that's awesome because it's one of those things I even experienced myself when I was thinking about, this past year. I mean, you start getting some early wins, start getting some traction, then you get hit in the face and you're just like, all right, what do I do now? Do I get myself back up and keep going? Or do I retreat back to some other option or, choose something else? So I definitely can relate to that.
Yeah. I think people have to get to a spot to where going back to status quo is not an option. And one of the things I think saved my butt as I was building all the businesses out was the fear of what other people would have thought had I thrown in the towel. That was a motivating force for me. And as odd as that is to say out loud, but I mean, it really was one of the things that drove the hell out of me to go a lot bigger. And because I had, people betting on me, I had people betting against me, whether this was going to become something or happen. And, by God, I was going to make sure the ones who were betting on me, I was going to prove them right. And I was going to make sure the ones that are betting against me, prove them wrong for sure. So I think it's that drive, passion with a whole lot of I don't give a crap attitude to
Mhm.
really, break loose to that next level.
Gotcha. That's a very interesting point that I want to talk a little bit further about that because, sometimes when I talk to different business owners, they're like, their idea of going into business ownership, hey, it's all about me and what I want to do, me living out my potential or living my best life. But when you mention about like, hey, when you're in business, like there are people, they're betting on your success and to
Mm.
where like, how much of that, that mindset of like, hey, I don't only have to make this right for me, but it's like, hey, I don't want to let them down. It's just like, how do you balance that? Hey, being in business, hey, you do have that freedom of, hey, you're doing your thing, but also at the same time trying to balance like, hey, I got people that are counting on me. Like, how did you learn to balance that?
Well, a couple of things. I don't ever believe in any sort of balance. There's really no balance like work-life balance. When you run a business, if you have the thought running across your head, how do I find work-life balance? Go get a job. Because running a business, you're always going to be thinking about the business, right? It's your livelihood. With a job, somebody's gonna that paycheck's gonna show up on Friday, and you got money coming in whether you show up or not. But when you run a business, you're going to run and gun. But to answer your question, one of the coolest things I found was started hiring staff because it increases that level of responsibility that you have to show up, you have to perform, because now you're not just feeding your own house, you're feeding all their houses and taking care and supporting them. So it was a motivating factor for me to produce more and go bigger so they could go spend more time with their families. They could take care of their stuff, or, they could be at their kids, games and everything. And the bigger we took the company and the more we challenged life and the harder they work to keep up with our pace, which has been fun experiment in hiring people is, they learn quickly how fast we run and they've got to keep pace. But when you really have that support or that knowledge that you are supporting a whole lot of other people and a whole lot of lives, it puts more emphasis on you having to do the things that others won't on a regular basis so that they can be taken care of. And for me, that was a driver. A lot of pressure early on because we took a lot of risk in hiring before we were really ready or maybe financially ready to hire, because sometimes you just got to take some leap of faith. And we've been really lucky at getting some great people that have stepped up and allowed us to perform at a higher level, bring in more revenue, and support their positions as they came in and brought their skills to the company. So it should be a motivator. If it's not, you need to check your mental game and really decide if being a business owner is right for you.
Gotcha. Gotcha. One of the things that I also find interesting is, like I said, reliving pivotal moments like that. So, can you help kind of describe like what that felt like when, hey, you guys made these hires and then like reality set in, like, oh,
Oh
shoot.
crap! I gotta pay them. Yeah, I mean, there's been a couple. Like the first guy I ever hired to do work for the company, I didn't know what it meant to really bring on staff, and so I literally he came on to edit my podcast and stuff, and I literally just dumped on him. Right, I just threw everything at him, like, okay, this is now yours, and I'll be over here. I'm just gonna record. You take care of everything. So I didn't give him a whole lot of direction. I didn't give him a whole lot of, knowledge of what I was looking for. So his first round of edits back for the podcast were horrible. And, in my head, I was thinking, dude, what the hell is this? But what I knew is I completely set him up for failure. I gave him no expectations. I didn't tell him exactly what I wanted to complete and do. So we came up with a game plan and reformatted it, and he did editing for me for a long time. But also in that vein, it freed up my time to go do more things. So my biggest struggle early on was making sure I was staying out in the business development game so I could make sure to cover his costs. I could make sure that he was taken care of. And then as we brought on more people, what I kept doing, and we've been successful doing, is getting more and more things off my plate so I can go do more things like this, interview on podcasts, speak on stages, be a part of live webinars, workshops, and the likes, because my job is to be out there and create more brand awareness for all the companies and things that we're doing. So, um, the transition was tough going to employees because there's a lot of leveling up. It's different than managing employees when you work for somebody else. It's a whole nother level of managing employees when it's your company, it's your baby. All right, you got to take care of all these things, and so I've had to evolve. I've had to evolve into a leader, and there's an unwritten law in my company that everybody sells. I don't care what your role is. You're a salesperson first, and then you get to do your job. And we've attracted some really, really cool people to the game that get it, because the more revenue and things that are coming into the company as a whole, the more everybody wins and the more fun toys we can play with. And, oftentimes an employee will say, hey, I really would like to get this new technology, this new thing, this new whatever. And my response is, all right, cool, go sell something. We'll buy it. And so, I mean, it's a semi joke, but there's some truth behind it. And there's been a couple times that we've needed a new technology or something that one of the team has gone out and said, hey, by the way, I brought on a couple deals. Here's what I want to use with this money coming in, which is a cool way to have a business going.
Nice, nice. That's actually a very brilliant idea. I mean, of really getting people to say, hey, if you want something, like the same thing you got to do as an owner, like, hey, if I want something, we got to go grow the business to afford it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's fun when the team buys into that. And, our team's a little competitive, which makes it fun. I'll always outsell them just because that's my nature. but it's fun to have kind of that competition throughout the companies as a whole, so we can all continue to run and impact as many lives as possible.
That's something that, in talking to so many business owners, I was talking to my wife the other day about it. And I was like, one of the things that I find myself running into with some business owners that I'm meeting they're struggling when it comes down to sales. And one of the things that I'm noticed an unfortunate pattern with some is that, it's like they want their business to grow. But then when I ask simple questions like, okay, all right, how many new people did you ask to do business with you this week? And it's just like zero. And I'm just like, okay, all right, how do you expect it to grow? And so I'm very interested in, how did you guys start finding, like I said, those people who were, buying into this, like, hey, I'm actively a part of the sales engine for this business, even though that may not be in my job description. That may not be my title. But hey,
Sure.
I'm buying into this.
Well, everybody that we've brought onto the team was a follower in what we do. So we've never just brought somebody in cold from the outside of the world. So they were most likely in our Facebook group, followed our podcast, followed our YouTube, or followed us on LinkedIn. So they were already into the brand and the things we were doing with the different companies. So one of the greatest things I can tell you guys is tap into your tribe of people to find the people that come work for you, because you got people that are just in love with what you do and they want to be a part of that game. So that's been a tremendous value. To pour into people. And I think a lot of presidents of companies, owners of companies, they forget that part of their role is to lead, mentor, coach, train. So regularly I'm sitting with the team members, helping them, through something they're working on. Maybe it's a mental game, maybe it's a sales game, maybe it's whatever, but I'm pouring into them and they want to come help. I mean, like a real, for instance, so we run all these networking groups across the US, 42 chapters now, that we've launched since March. And I just put out a funny post in one of my private Facebook groups that said, hey, look, I'm going to teach some cold call workshops. Right? The cold call workshops are absolutely free, but there's a catch. And the catch is, if you come to the cold call workshop, I'm going to teach for 10 minutes. Then I'm going to hand you a list of names and you're going to call and help me sell tickets for the Badass Business Summit. And I said, every ticket that you sell, I'll pay you $40 for. Now, these are clients that I sent this message out to. I had 10 clients go, dude, that sounds like fun. I'm in. So I set up a Zoom. They showed up. I did some live dials so they could hear me talking both and heard the conversation. They made notes. I taught them how to cold call. We left the Zoom open, and they started calling and helping me sell tickets from my summit. Which
Nice,
is just
nice.
a cool experience when you really pour into people and you really are helping them go where they want to go. They want to help you back. And it was a moment for me that I was very, very proud of what we've accomplished and what we've done, that people volunteered their own time to come make cold calls on our behalf. It was really cool. And we just did that this week. So
Awesome. I mean, that is amazing because, I can't think of many companies that have really developed that type of connection with their people to where, like I said, people will get that engaged, that directly engaged without a title or without a contract in place. I mean, that's amazing. So, how did you guys go about really, keeping the energy and your tribe, keeping them energized about where you guys are going? I mean, because you guys are doing a lot of things, like you said, you guys had 6 companies, so it's just like,
So, I mean, I've always had the philosophy of, I go, you go. And so I know a lot of people say that they're not going to ask anybody to do anything they wouldn't do themselves, but I don't really think they mean that. And so, like doing cold calls, I'm going to do the dials live in front of you first, so you understand how to do it. If I'm going to teach LinkedIn, reach outs and the likes, I'm going to do it live on Zoom and show you exactly the steps I'm going through. So I think it's because I've been willing to screw up on display. Because I mean, look, if I make a cold call live, I'm not going to win every dial. I'm not going to be this absolute rock star that just closes every deal. So I'm going to screw up, and that willingness to not care that I'm screwing up, that willingness to not care that I made the wrong move or said the wrong thing, has continued to bring more and more people in. And I think it's because of the actions I take. It inspires others that they find the courage inside themselves to want to be a part of what we're doing. And I don't know. I think every person I sit across from, I can impact and change their life by helping them see a bigger vision in themselves and where they want to go. So I spend time with the clients. It's not, for me, it's not about just the service we're providing with them. If I get you on a phone call, we're going to spend an hour together, and I'm going to say, screw what we're doing for business for the moment. The team's got that taken care of. What's going on with you? How do we get you bigger? And I think it's that ability to pour into people that's gotten people that want to run through a brick wall for me. And it's been really, really fun to be a part of and figure out how to scale and go bigger. you know um
awesome.
you create champions, man. That's the answer always, is create champions.
Awesome, man. I definitely love it. And speaking of that, how can people find you guys online? I mean, they're excited about all the great things you're doing. Where should they be looking to find you online?
So we created Success Champion Networking, where we're changing the game of how people network. No MLMs. The meetings are virtual. It's highly education. I'm teaching sales and helping people, really level up and understanding that it's really about making the proper introductions and getting people to the right people. I mean, when you surround yourself with the right people, amazing things happen. So we've got 42 chapters now across the U.S., and we are continuing to scale and grow. And then the second place is come hang out at the Badass Business Summit. So that is September 23rd through the 25th, Arlington, Texas. 37 days away. That's awesome. The timer's up there. We've got 17 amazing speakers coming in, all focused on business development, sales, and growth. So we've got Kevin Hunter, who's got 350,000 YouTube followers and makes thousands of dollars a day on YouTube, to Laura DeFranco, Jane Power, Stevie Don Carter. I mean, you're talking about some of the best experts in the game, from mindset, sales, just a tremendous amount. There'll be a trade show there. where we've only got a small volume of tickets left. They're 197. It will be live event in person, Arlington, Texas. Just go to badassbusinesssummit.com for that.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. And it's always, so great to be able, like I said, to get around that mindset, which is one of the amazing reasons why, like I said, I wanted to invite you back on the show, because I remember from our initial conversation and even the conversation you and I had off camera, just the advice and the honesty, the clarity, and the things that you shared really helped me make some really good tweaks and changes even to my own approach to business, and I really appreciated it. So one
My honor.
final question I'd like to ask is, as you
Sure.
kind of think about all the amazing things, which I know it'll be challenging, is what's two pieces of advice that you would leave the audience with as we wrap up?
Number one, go get punched in the face every day. If you are literally not doing something to scare yourself, or if things aren't breaking in your business, then you're playing it too safe. We have a rule in the company, and I don't remember if we can use profanity on here for sure, but it's go break crap. But we use the other word. And it's a
You're
running
fine.
rule.
You can go ahead and say it.
Oh, cool. So literally the rule in the company is go break shit. Because if things aren't breaking, if there's not some sort of chaos somewhere in the business, if you're not getting to a place of overwhelm, if you don't do that kind of stuff, then we can't as a team come together and help you get out of the overwhelm, figure out what to get off your plate. Two, if things aren't breaking, you're just not trying enough new things. You're not screwing things up, and you won't grow, because growth happens after you get punched in the face and you step forward. The second thing you got to do is surround yourself with badasses. When you make yourself an island being a business owner, or when you are not around the right people, you'll find yourself in a lot of negative mindsets. You'll find yourself second guessing decisions, not making decisions. But when you get around the right people, you're able to reach out to them and go, man, this is where I'm at. And they were like, cool, you got this, dude. Here's the next move, right? And when you get around those right people, they're going to drive, push, and help you succeed. I mean, and that's a lot of the reasons we created, Success Champions Networking and the Badass Business Summit, was so people could get into those right rooms with the right mindset and have a place where they can come back to when things break, when things go south, that they can throw it out there and get real phenomenal advice from just great people who are all going big.
Absolutely. I love it. Well, Donnie, thank you so much for coming back on the show, sharing some great insight. And before we wrap up, what's the website again that people can go to keep an eye out for that conference, to grab their tickets today?
Yep, absolutely. It's go to badassbusinesssummit.com. Said we've only got a few tickets left, so move quickly. September 23rd through the 25th. Would love to see you guys there.
Awesome. Well, Donnie, thanks again for coming on the show.
My honor, brother.
Thank you for tuning in to the Business Talk Library. If you like our content, be sure to follow us on social media. And if you want to see more of our exclusive content, you can subscribe and become a member on patreon.com/Business Talk Library. Hey, the Business Talk Library is the place where business makes sense.